Hi everyone, thank you for coming to our final workshop of the quarter and the year. I'm excited to introduce Regina coming from Claremont Graduate University to give us a workshop presentation on Grad School 101. So Regina, take it away.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you all for being here. As she mentioned, my name is Regina. I am the Assistant Director of Admissions for Psychology at Claremont Graduate University. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and then we can get started. I will say that I know this is scheduled for an hour. I don't think it will take an hour, so we will have time at the end if any of you have questions. And then we can go over those. All right, so Grad School 101. Obviously, I'm sure many of you are thinking about grad school and maybe already actually started preparing, but you've got questions. And so we're going to try and hit on all the different parts of applying for grad school. First up, we're going to talk on how to prepare for grad school. You might not be at that point where you're necessarily applying, but there's definitely research and steps that you need to take before you even get to applying to make sure that you're going to the right school for you. So when to begin preparing for graduate school, I would suggest you start looking between your sophomore and junior year. This seems early, but as you're entering your senior level classes, you're going to want to make sure that you're taking the right courses that not only fit into your interests, but fit into your intended career path and the program that you hope to get into. So you may have to adjust your classes depending on the area that you're hoping to get into for your grad school. Obviously, within psychology, there is a variety of ways that you can utilize that in your profession, in your education. The most obvious is clinical versus research. Clinical being you hope to be a therapist, or research, you want to work in academia, you want to work in consultation, you want to work in the research lab. So there's a variety of ways, and then not all programs are going to cater to both of those fields. Specifically at CGU, we're applied psychology, so we do research. We don't graduate therapists. If you're looking to be a therapist, you wouldn't come here. Subsequently, the same thing might be if you were going to a different school where all they had was clinical programs and you're looking to be a professor or be in research. And so I'm really looking into what the programs offer and having some idea of what you hope your future job to be. Obviously, that also comes into play when debating master's versus doctoral. With a master's, you'll probably have more diverse job opportunities once you graduate, which it makes it potentially easier to get a job because there's going to be a lot more variety. But it also means that there's might be some ways to cultivate your degree to kind of fit the specific needs that you have, such as doing a dual degree and maybe an MBA in psychology because you want to work in a leadership position and you want to have that organizational psychology background, but you also want to run your own business. So there's different ways to make that program work for you. With a doctoral degree, generally you're going into a PhD program because you want to work in research or you want to be a professor. So it'll be very important that you start performing your research and publishing as soon as possible if you're interested in a PhD. So that if this is your goal, even now you should be talking to professors and seeing if they need any assistance with their projects so that you can start gaining experience. Because research experience is going to be probably one of the key factors of your application when applying for a PhD program. Not every program is going to be a good fit for you. So understanding your goals and what the program has to offer are going to be really important. So in order to find your fit, the first thing you're going to have to do is research the graduate schools. Here at CGU, we have a variety of psychology degrees. They're all going to be in psychology, but your specialty might be cognitive, evaluation, organizational behavior, positive developmental, positive health, positive organizational, or social. But each university is going to have different concentrations and strengths, and within their psychology program, you're going to have to do a little searching to figure out what is right for you. Next, you're going to have to do a little shopping for faculty. This means it's really important to reach out to faculty beforehand. You're going to want to introduce yourself You're going to want to present your kind of intended research area. No faculty member is expecting you to have it all fleshed out and to know exactly what you're going to research or be interested in, but they want to see kind of the direction you hope to take it in. So you're going to reach out to faculty, you're going to present yourself and your interests, and you're going to see if they want to work with you. Hopefully before you do this, you will look at their background. You're not going to reach out to a professor who works in a completely different psychology field than you would. There's going to be some relevance, but you're going to want to see if that faculty member wants to work with you. Because if they don't, if maybe they've moved past that area and they're no longer interested in that subject, or maybe it's just slightly different than their field. There could be a variety of reasons, but if for whatever reason your subject doesn't appeal to them, it could be a deciding factor in you not getting into that school. Subsequently, if you have a subject that they are excited to work on, that could be a really big help when applying and getting into the program. So it is important to make those connections before you apply. Obviously, applying to school is going to be cheap. Application fees, sending in transcripts, all of those things cost money. And so to know what the school has and what the faculty are interested in working on is going to help you decide the best program for you, and also increase your chances of getting into that program. So obviously program focuses, again, lots of different programs out there. They're all going to have different areas. You're going to have to make sure that you are really looking into what each what each program offers, and make sure that it aligns with your professional goals. So standard professional outcomes of the program here at CGU, we don't graduate therapists, like I said. So if it's your dream job that you're going to work in a program that supports that, we're not for you. We graduate academics, researchers, consultants, and a variety of other professional types. So you're going to want to see what alumni, what field they get into as well. If you can, obviously this won't be possible all the time, go see the campus. Graduate school is hard, and understanding the campus, the resources available, the structure of the community, that'll be a big help in making that final decision. And then I think it's really important to also kind of figure out, do you want to go to school full time? Do you want to work and go to school part time? Some schools don't allow part time. They really encourage that full time commitment. So figuring out what the program schedule and timeline is like is going to also help you figure out the best program for you. So how to apply to grad school? I will say that there's a pretty standard process to this, but of course each graduate program are going to require different things. This is a general list of many of the things that most graduate schools require. So the first thing you're going to want to do is look at their application requirements. You're going to want to create a timeline for yourself so that you understand what you need to complete over the next month. Maybe the first week you talk to your professors. Second week you work on your statement of purpose. Third week you might have to do a CV. So there's going to be a variety of things that you have to complete. I would say consider writing your statement of purpose for each school. Nothing will get you denied quicker than saying you want to be in a clinical psychologist program, but you're applying to an applied psychology program. Work with your current advisors on your statement of purpose. If you have any questions on what to focus on, they should be your first point of contact. But you can always ask the admission rep from the school you're applying to. I know I read a lot of applications, statement of purposes, and I generally won't look at grammar, but I will tell a student if they are on the right path. I will say also, whoever is giving you a letter of recommendation, ask them as soon as you know that you're going to apply and start the application so that you can send them the link to upload the letter. Letters of recommendations can take a while, and chances are you aren't the only student asking. So you want to give your professor as much time to complete that letter as possible. Again, give yourself completion dates, 2-week deadlines, whatever works for you, so that you can start a draft, rewrite, and so forth. Statement of purpose is generally 2 to 3 pages, double spaced, but there might be a lot of things that you want to talk about. And so it's going to be really important to get that all out and then edit it to create the best statement of purpose that you can. So application materials. At Claremont, we have an application, and then we require 2 letters of recommendation, a statement of purpose, transcripts, and the GRE is optional. But I will say, I generally tell students to take the GRE. It's not as important if you're only doing a master's, but I will say that regardless of PhD or master's, when a program does not require a GRE, but you do it anyways, it is a great way to stand out. It shows the professors that you're dedicated, that you really have what it takes to be a part of this program. At CGU, our psychology program has a strong statistics background, and you'll have to take it here. So the faculty are going to want to see that you have the ability to succeed. And of course, if you've got statistics classes on your transcripts, that's great. But maybe you took it freshman year, or it might have just, you need a refresher. So taking the GRE and doing well on that math section just really helps faculty confirm that you are capable of succeeding in the program. So some of the things that kind of depend on the program are test scores or interviews. Some require writing samples. Those aren't necessarily things that you have to do for CGU. I will say that sometimes we do interviews, but not everyone has to go through one. If you do go through it, it'll be important that you not only know the faculty background and the program, but that you speak on your own personal goals and experiences within psychology. So it's going to be really important that you have a pretty good knowledge about not only your area, the program, and the faculty. So producing strong written materials. This is definitely a bit of an obvious statement. You are going to want to put your best foot forward on every part of this application, but the written materials are where you're really going to let your background, your dreams, professional goals shine. So it's very important that you present them as best as you can. So what is the statement of purpose? The statement of purpose, in the most general terms, is where the applicant is usually telling the program's committee something about their reason or purpose in pursuing a graduate degree. However, in practice, that can end up meaning hugely different things for each program. One program might be interested in an applicant's proposed area of research, while another might expect the applicant to discuss their long-term career goals and how earning a degree might help them reach those career goals. At CGU, our faculty make the admissions decision, and I can tell you they don't really care about which childhood event led to pursuing psychology. We do get a lot of applications where they'll talk about that moment at 5 years old that they experienced something with a grandparent, or there was some life event that happened that was just something that stuck with them and made them want to get into psychology. It's a great kind of statement that shows interest and excitement, but our faculty mainly want to see your experience with the subject. They want to see some research experience. They want to see that you have a career path in mind. They want to see that you understand that it might change as you go through the program, but that you've done your research. And if you're applying for a PhD, they want to see a research topic. They don't expect you to be fully developed. They want to know that you have a path in mind that's been looked into, that you've got a background that kind of supports this path, and that you're really doing everything you can to make yourself successful. Again, the admissions rep can read it, a faculty advisor can read it, your current psychology professors can read it, and hopefully give you a bit of a response, let you know if you're doing good, and if you're presenting yourself in the best fashion. Obviously, financially funding, those are some scary topics when it comes to graduate school. So we're going to try and touch on this so that you've got a basic knowledge, but I will say that when the time comes and you are getting ready to go to graduate school, make sure you reach out to their financial aid office. Do not try and navigate this by yourself. There's so many things out there that are there to help you that you might not know about. And each university is going to have different tips and tricks to help you. So yes, reach out to your financial aid office. As I'm sure many of you are already familiar with, the FAFSA does not end with your undergraduate degree. You can apply for the FAFSA while you're doing your graduate degree as well. So unfortunately, that does mean you probably won't get grants to the FAFSA. So like if you're a Pell recipient, that's not awarded to graduate students, but it does mean that you can get some unsubsidized loans and some Grad Plus loans, which will cover up to cost of attendance. What's really important though is that it generates an EFC, so it's the estimated financial contribution. This EFC is used to award federal work study. It comes into play with scholarships. When it comes to third-party awards as well, there are oftentimes need requirements, and so you have to have that figure to be eligible for some of that. But the FAFSA is also important if you have any sort of employer benefits, veterans benefits, if you are part of an Indian tribe, and there are tribal scholarships that you are available to receive, you're going to have a FAFSA on file for that as well. So it's really important that each fall you get that taken care of and get that submitted. Even if you don't use the loans, it's better to have that on file than not have it on file. So obviously everyone wants to find a way to fund their education. So scholarships, grants, assistantships, and on-campus employment are some of the most popular ways of trying to navigate that. I put 4 outside scholarship search engines on there. They are probably some of the more popular ones, so there's a good chance that you have heard of them. But if not, I definitely recommend noting those. And this is not something that's just for graduate students. They are higher education scholarships that some might be specifically for graduate students, but there's going to be plenty for undergrad as well. So you can use these tools today. I definitely recommend looking through them and find. It sounds daunting, but I always recommend students apply for somewhere between 40 and 60. A lot of scholarship applications you don't get responses from, and that can be really demoralizing. But there are students out there who make money just because they apply to so many and then do get awarded. So apply for scholarships, treat it like a part-time job, do as many as you can. Grants are something that you will definitely get into, but probably more so once you are in your program. It won't be, that process probably won't be utilized until you're maybe in your second semester and maybe you're looking at a conference or you're looking for a research grant for a project. I know on our campus that we have a program within our financial aid office that helps students with applying for grants. They'll go over procedures and best practices and kind of give tips and tricks on how to go present the best application that you can. We have a lot of students that get grants here, whether that is for conference traveling or different research projects. There's also assistantships. So at CGU, we are a graduate university. So that means that unfortunately, we don't have a ton of teacher positions, TA positions. At some of the undergraduate colleges, such as like Pomona, we have some positions that become available, but there aren't a ton. However, we do have a lot of research labs here. So that means that we have a lot of research assistantship positions. Subsequently, there's lots of on-campus employment as well. All of these things are going to be available at whatever institution you choose to go to. Some institutions might have more options than others. So it's going to be really important that when you are researching your schools and talking to the financial aid office, that you talk about the different options available to you. Higher education is expensive. Master's programs are some of the least funded programs out there. But for the amount of time that you spend in it, you have the most potential to make money. So it really just depends on what type of funding you can get, what type of job you're looking to get into, and really what you're willing to do to make it work. There are plenty of options out there, but they're time consuming. So just make sure you do all the research and just start applying for as many scholarships as you can. So what to expect when you get to graduate school? Obviously, we've kind of touched on the application process, but graduate school is an entirely different experience than being in an undergraduate institution. First off, less classes. You're going to be in about 2 to 4 classes a semester. Your professors will be there to guide you, but more often than not, learning and research projects, that's going to be on you. You'll want to build relationships with other students and form study groups. You'll want to use your faculty's office hours. You don't want to bug them too much, but it is important to cultivate that relationship out of the classroom, whether that means office hours or if they've got a brown bag lunch event, if they're hosting a guest speaker, whatever it is, you are going to want to build that relationship with your faculty members, your other students, pretty much anyone that you come into contact with during your education. You'll need their help eventually, so that constant communication ensures that you have the best chance of success. When you are in graduate school, you're going to have smaller class sizes. You're going to see them maybe once a week. Most classes tend to be longer, once a week, maybe twice a week, depending on which class it is. So that means that you do have a longer period together at one point to build that relationship, but then it isn't going to be into the following week that you see them again. So building those relationships quickly is going to be very important. You're going to have a lot less busy work. So that means that you are going to be probably project-based, and you're not going to have week-to-week homework, maybe other than research or reading. So it's going to be a lot more on you to make sure that you're keeping up with your schoolwork. And I will say that a lot of the times it is much clearer on what you need to do to finish the class, to get a good grade, to graduate. There might be a midterm, a project, and a final. Or there might be just a big class project. So it does mean that there are fewer opportunities to maybe mess up in the class, but there are also fewer opportunities to succeed. So what you do turn in, whether it be a paper or a project, you have to do it well. And that's where all those relationships come into play, because you're going to need that support to make sure that you succeed. So how to make the most out of your program? There are a lot of different things that come into your graduate education. And it's really important to utilize every resource that you have. And I think even at the undergraduate level, you probably aren't aware of all the resources available to you on campus. It's not something that's always made obvious. So it's really important that you take those steps to figure out what those resources are. This is just a sample class schedule. I will say that this is definitely a heavier class and not necessarily not reasonable, but more often than not, I would say for the master's students, you're looking at more like 8 to 10 units. And then the doctoral student, probably 10 to 12. So here at CGU, the students take statistics as a cohort. So it's the only class that you would take together. So it's a large class, probably 60 to 70 students. But other than that, classes are about 8 people per class. So those are a lot smaller. Statistics you would take twice a week for 3 hours. Most of the other classes are going to be once a week. So you're probably going to take a core class, maybe a research class, and then kind of go from there. The doctoral student is actually going to do a lot of what the master's student is doing, but they might take a class that is specifically for doctoral students. So at the beginning of the PhD program, it's very similar to a master's program. So this is just something to kind of take a quick look at, give you an idea of what you might expect, and just kind of keep that in mind. Okay, so one of the most important things that you can do while you're in graduate school is network. You don't just go to class. Attending class is the very basic level of what you're supposed to do in graduate school. You should be taking part in and attending anything you can. Brown bag events, go hear guest speakers, participate in conferences, take any opportunity to engage with others in your area of expertise, especially those who are already doing what you hope to do. This will be key when it comes to finding a job. So networking is just key to success. There are so many different opportunities in graduate school, but unfortunately it is something that you have to take part in, and you have to be the one that drives that. A professor isn't necessarily going to help you network. However, we do have a career development office. Most places have a career development office, and I don't think that it's always the most obvious office. So it's going to be really important that you take advantage of them. They're there to help you fine tune your resume, practice interviewing, negotiating salary. They can teach you how to network if that's something that you're not comfortable with, or you just want a little bit more guidance on. And it's just one resource available to you out of many. So taking advantage of as many of the resources on campus as possible just ensures you'll be more prepared for graduation. This is also a time to really expand your focus. Obviously, if you're coming into a program on the graduate level, you're going to be focusing on an area such as psychology, but where your focus lies, what your concentration is, it doesn't have to be so linear. It can be something where you're doing maybe a dual degree. There's going to be opportunities to make it work for you. So really look at what opportunities are there. Take classes you might not have thought of taking. See how you can make your degree unique and really kind of make your chances of entering the workforce really positive, because you're going to be able to bring something that others can't to a field that maybe hasn't seen what you have on offer. So that might be education in psychology, that might be music in psychology, that might be business in psychology. It could be a variety of things. It's just really looking at you, your interests, your research interests, all of that, and figuring out what's going to work best for you. And then just again, network, any opportunity. I will say here at CGU, we have a marketing department, and I believe most colleges would have this opportunity as well. But you can go to the marketing department, pay like $20 and get like 100, maybe 200 business cards. So when you go to conferences, or when you are even out and about, maybe you just randomly meet someone who works in the field that you want to work in. You give them a business card. Always be prepared to network. That is the key thing, outside of course, your projects and your reading and your research, that you should be doing when you're in graduate school, is networking. So how to survive graduate school? Graduate school is tough, it's stressful. I mean, there's very little sleep that happens. So it's really important that you have kind of things in the back of your mind that you know are going to help you stay sane. So find balance. Networking is really a part of this, but make friends. Figure out who in your cohort or in any of your classes you're going to connect with. Exchange phone numbers. Make it so that you guarantee, well, at least every Saturday evening, you guys all go out because you want to do froyo, or you want to grab drinks, or you want to go to the beach, whatever it might be. But find balance. It is so important when you're in graduate school to really understand your limits. It's a hard time. It can be fun and all that stuff, but it's really important that you do what's best for you. Work smart. Join study groups. We have in our statistics program, we have TAs and people there to help you. We have lots of different opportunities on our campus for students to study in unique ways. We have a treadmill desk. We have collaboration corners. Most campuses understand that education is stressful and they want to do everything that they can to support you. You'll also have the ability to take part in that counseling. So maybe if you have something going on in your life, whether it's a relationship issue, a family issue, and not only is that stressful, but you also have your schooling, which is also stressful, there's going to be people on campus there to support you. So take advantage again of those resources. Don't don't procrastinate. I know that it's hard, especially if you don't have like weekly tasks to turn in, but really stay on top of your work and your research and everything that you're supposed to be doing, because at the end of the day, it is going to make your life so much easier. I would say one of the best ways to kind of helping find balance is joining a club. If you have a group of people in which you share a common interest and you're part of something, it's going to help you break away from all of the school work that you need to do. So whether it's CGU or another university, just make sure that you find your people. So yeah, find your balance. Try and just use any resource that you can to make you successful with doing as little work as you can. And I'm not saying don't do the work, but just work smart. So that's pretty much it for today. This is my contact information as well as our admissions office information. So feel free to jot either of those down. If you've got questions, if you're interested in CGU, if you want to just kind of flesh out some of the different questions that you might have about psychology or the programs that are out there, you can reach out to us and we are always happy to help. All right. If anyone has any questions, I am happy to answer those. And so feel free to just unmute yourself and shout it out if you've got any. Gerardo, yeah, go for it.
Hi, so I just had a question regarding the, let's say that I want to take a gap year. How would that affect how I ask for letters of recommendation?
Honestly, I would talk to your professors before you leave. You don't have to have them write the letter. Obviously, at that point, you can just let them know that it's coming. But having that conversation so that they know that you do plan on applying and that in 6 months, 8 months, you're going to need them to write a letter is probably going to be pretty important. And the thing is, too, is if you're only taking a gap year, that means that you're technically, hypothetically graduating, say, right now, and then you're going to take a year off. So you're going to miss fall 2022, spring 2023, and then you'll apply again for that fall 2023. Your application should be started in that fall 2022. So it should only be a couple months since you last spoke to that professor, if there is any sort of gap. So yeah, have that conversation with them. Let them know that you're not going to apply straight away. But start that application as soon as you can so that you can send them that link and they can maybe submit it so that the college gets their letter, even if maybe it takes you another 3 to 4 months to submit the actual application.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. So I'm currently a second year, and so I was wondering, what is some general advice that you would give for someone like me who was thinking of applying to graduate school? Like, what steps should I take right now that would boost my possibility of getting into a graduate school?
So first off, you're going to want to research schools, figure out, what you're hoping to get into, master's, PhD, clinical versus research. And I would say the answer to those kind of 4 areas dictates what you would need to be doing. If you are looking to go into a PhD because you want to do research to be a faculty member, then I would start talking with your professors and find any opportunity that you can to help them with their research. It might be minor, but any opportunity that you can show on your application that you participated in research on some level outside of just a paper is going to be important. Obviously, not everyone is going to be able to find that opportunity. So maybe if there's internships or other opportunities within, maybe like there's a summer project that someone's working on and you are maybe more organizing than research, but you can just still be a part of, that's going to be important. So really talk with your professors, and if they don't have opportunities, find out if they know of anyone who might, because in this Zoom world, you obviously don't need to be there to help someone. So maybe through their connections, you can find other opportunities as well.
I'm curious to ask, do you feel like based on at least like interactions with faculty over COVID, do you think that they seem maybe more understanding or more lenient with the application process? Or do you feel like they've gotten harder? Like, where do you, is there a trend? What do you see?
Um, so honestly, it will look like the faculty are being harder, because I will say that the applications have not gotten worse per se, but I feel like there is kind of a dissonance between where applicants used to be and what they used to submit and what's happening now. That's why I kind of made the comment about the statement of purpose. And this is one thing that I find with our faculty really aggravate them, is that the statement of purpose tends to be this, well, at least recently, this fluff piece about their childhood experience, or something that's happened to them or a family member. And that's what led them on this journey. And it reads like a fiction novel rather than this statement of purpose regarding their experience with their subject and what research they've done, and what they hope to get into. Because who you are is important, but the faculty member is really just trying to see your relationship with the subject and where you hope to go with it. So, and to answer your question, they probably come across as harder because they're rejecting more people, but it's because of the quality of the applications that we're getting.
Got it. Thank you, Regina.
An addendum to that, they're not as hard on grades. They understand grades more in the sense of with Zoom and all of the different kind of teaching techniques that have happened, they get little bumps as far as what students might have gone through. So it looks like Jacqueline submitted kind of an addition to the gap year question. What do you recommend we do during the meantime? Fun. No, I mean, if you're wanting to do something to benefit you on a grad school level, you are going to want to do your best. Again, it depends on what you're going to grad school for. So if you are going to get into clinical psychology because you want to be a therapist, it would say it would depend on who you want to work with. Do you want to work with kids? And technically that could be for research too. So if you're looking to get into applied psychology and focus on, positive developmental, maybe you want to look at building better educational standards. You are going to want to try and find opportunities maybe to work within, the city as an assistant to someone who maybe does what you do want to do. You're going to want to look for internships out there that focus on K-12 education. Realistically, there's going to be so many ways for you to kind of find a job and make it work in the direction that you want to go into. For instance, we have a lot of people who have a business. They are already in the work field. They have maybe built their own business, or they just work their way to the top, and they're coming here because they want to get a degree in organizational psychology. So maybe you go into any business anywhere. All you've got is an entry-level job, and no one's expecting you to be like, okay, well, I'm going to change the structure of this business with the limited knowledge that you have. But going in and maybe recognizing some areas that there could be improvement and talking about it with your boss. Showing that you are willing to pursue maybe those questions, and again, no one's expecting you to like fix anything, but having those conversations. I know that with COVID, with the Me Too movement, there's been a lot of structural changes within a lot of jobs, and so engaging with those and just doing what you can to be aware and have those conversations are going to be helpful. Again, anytime you can work with a professor on a research project, that's always going to be a great way to spend time before applying to a graduate program. And I would say definitely speak with your professors. Like if you're taking a gap year, ask them if they know of any long-term internships or opportunities that you might be able to take part in. So it depends on where you're trying to go with your degree and what time you have available to pursue it. Anything else?
If no one has any other questions, I'll go ahead and just pause the recording here.